March 6, 2018 at 6:40 p.m. Opening statement and roll call, please.
Let the minutes reflect that adequate notice of the holding of this regular meeting of the Howell Township Council was provided for in the following manner: by the posting of a copy of said notice upon the bulletin board in the Township Municipal Building on January 5, 2018, by the faxing of a copy of said notice to the Tri-Town News, Asbury Park Press, and Star Ledger for information and publication on January 5, 2018, by the filing of a copy of said form of notice in the Township Clerk's office on January 5, 2018. The public will be allowed to attend and will be allowed to participate pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Law. The public is reminded that civility and decorum will be maintained during the meeting. Any contracts awarded at this meeting or between now and the next meeting will be required to comply with the requirements of Public Law 1975, Chapter 127. In accordance with the Fire Prevention Code, be advised that this facility is designed with emergency exits for your safety. Upon exiting the meeting room, they are to your left and to your right. Furthermore, smoking is not permitted in the municipal building. Please take note that this meeting is being videotaped for possible future broadcast on Howell Television. Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell.
Here.
Councilwoman Smith did call in. Will have an excused absence this evening. Mr. Walsh?
Present.
Mr. Nacastro?
He's not here yet.
Mayor Berger?
Present. Do we have any reason to go into executive session this evening?
Yes, Mayor, we do. Pending litigation and personnel matters to be discussed.
Could you please read executive session resolution?
Whereas the governing body of the Township of Howell is authorized pursuant to NJSA 10:4-12 to exclude the public from that portion of the meeting for purposes of discussing specific matters as permitted by NJSA 10:4-12. Whereas the governing body of the Township of Howell intends to discuss certain matters which are deemed confidential pursuant to NJSA 10:4-12. Whereas at this time, the governing body of the Township of Howell cannot determine the time when the discussion to be held in executive session will be made public, but will disclose the minutes of executive session when the need for confidentiality no longer exists. Now therefore be it resolved by the governing body of the Township of Howell that this meeting shall be adjourned to an executive session, and the public will be excluded in order that the previously listed items to discuss the items previously listed, and upon reconvening the public meeting, the presiding officer will announce, if possible, the time when and the circumstance under which a discussion conducted in executive session will be disclosed to the public.
I would entertain a motion to go into exec.
Motion for executive session?
Second.
Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes. Good evening, everyone. Sorry we're starting a little late. We had a couple of things to take care of in the room, in the back room. So let me begin. I'll call this meeting to order at 7:47 p.m., March 6, 2018. The executive session minutes from tonight's meeting can be disclosed to the public when the need for confidentiality no longer exists. Can we please stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And a moment of silence, please. Thank you.
I'm really sorry.
All right, it's all good. I think we're good. Before we begin, I believe there's a march on Washington. I think it's the 24th of March. Please don't hold me to that date. If you would take a look at it, it's for gun violence in the schools. And if you can, it's on a Saturday. If you can, it would be beneficial for the students to go and join in that march. Is to help save lives. So I think that would be a very important event. I would like to entertain a motion to accept the regular meeting minutes and executive session for February 6th.
I'll make a motion to accept the 4 minutes in front of us.
Second?
Second.
Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes. Acceptance of minutes for February 8th, the special meeting and 2018 budget.
Going individually? Okay.
Yeah.
Motion to accept February 8th.
Second.
Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell? Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes. The minutes from February 13th, the special meeting again for the budget.
Motion to accept February 13th.
Second.
Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes. And last, February 15th, 2018 for the budget as well.
Motion to accept February 15th.
Second.
Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes. So tonight we have a nice event. We're here this evening for the Howell American Youth Football. And we have Tom Bonin, who is the coach. If we could have all the football members to come up, we want to give you your awards.
What?
Look at him.
Quickly.
Big boy outside.
How are you?
Tom Bonin, head coach.
Thank you.
Okay, guys, I'm gonna, Sean Scully, assistant coach. Oh, I'm sorry. Howell AYF Rebels, Division 11 and under, the New Jersey Youth Football Jersey Shore Conference, the American South Division Champions, New Jersey Youth Football Conference Champions, third place American Youth Football National Championships in Florida. They're receiving that today. That's a certificate of achievement. Lou Ongo, assistant coach. I'm sure you're not this quiet on the field. I mean, come on, guys. Assistant coach Brian Flattery. You want to? Sure. Assistant coach Chris Campese. No, I'm good. Anthony Calandra, assistant coach. No, I'm good. Michael DeFrancisco. No, I'm good.
They've heard me and everybody all year long.
Assistant coach Greg Nelms. My pleasure. Okay, we're gonna call. No, he's not here. David Fichtenbaum. Great job. call them out? Go ahead.
Sebastian Andujar. Little D. Fran. Little Nelms. Colin Ernst. Myquan Rush Isdale. Christopher Scully. Little Campese. Fox, Shane Fox. You got it, bud. Jack Horan. Sebastian Malikoff. David Orloff. Little Calandra. Peter Goza. Ed Walker.
Nice try, nice try.
James Bertan. Dominic Martins. Little Anyo. Ethan Rifkin. Declan Flaherty. Jay Bresnahan. Devin Sikowski. Ryan Herman. So as the coach, I do thank you for recognizing the boys on a great job. Sean Scully. Yeah, he's got a father too. Yeah, I'll give you. So again, I want to thank you for recognizing the boys on their hard work and their accomplishments. Our cheerleaders are also heading to Florida this weekend to go for a national championship. So good luck to our cheerleaders. Guys, squeeze it together.
Oh, sure.
Get closer to each other.
Let's go. Hey, you're a team again. Get in there. Get in like you like one. Nice and tight. Nice and tight.
Wasn't happening, but.
I don't want to
picture. Thank you.
All the parents out there, I just want to say your children were very, very, very nice to come up and very well behaved, very good young boys. You have a lot to look forward to. That's the best part of the meeting. Do we have any reports from the township officials this evening?
Do you have anything, Jim? No, Mayor.
None? None?
Mayor, I just have one item to add to the agenda from the preliminary to the final, which is Resolution 9A25, authorize the appointment of counsel for Councilwoman Evelyn O'Donnell regarding the United States Department of Justice's investigation. So that's the one addition to tonight's agenda.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, I'd like to open this part of the meeting for hearing of citizens and public comment on the consent agenda items. And I have Mark Parisi.
A little heads up and issue.
Good evening, council. Is this for all items or just the agenda items?
All items.
All items, okay. I'm Mark Parisi, I live at 2 Castle Court. I've been before the council before. I was here in October when you guys adopted the new noise ordinance. So I just wanted to come tonight to offer a proposal for a nuisance ordinance. I wrote something that I wanted to read. I made some copies that I'd like to distribute to the council, if I may.
If you would give them to Ms. Wallman, she'll pass them up.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so as the council knows, when the new model noise ordinance was adopted in October, it replaced the former noise ordinance that was adopted in September of 1978. The former noise ordinance had a specific prohibition for plainly audible noises that read, and I won't read through the entire thing, but I'll just summarize. There was a specific prohibition prohibiting the operating of any sound production device that would make noise that could be heard across real property boundaries between 10 p.m. and 7 a.m. The former noise ordinance also had a provision for the abatement of noise nuisances. That was Chapter 208-14, and that basically said that any violation of this noise ordinance at that time would be declared a public nuisance and subject to abatement summarily by a restraining order or injunction. So the current model noise ordinances do not include a specific prohibition against plainly audible noise disturbances from sound production devices and does not have a provision for the abatement of noise nuisances. The township does have a nuisance code for public health nuisances, and it adopted by reference the Public Health Nuisance Code of 1953. This states that the municipality can enact and amend nuisance ordinances regulating public health issues. The state noise code adopted pursuant to statutes, they impose performance standards for the regulation and enforcement of noise. These standards pertain to measurable noise and not plainly audible noises. Many municipalities, like Howell Township, and I have a copy of their noise ordinance, they adopt local noise ordinances. However, they that measure noise and that are not plainly audible noises. Hold on, I misread that. Many municipalities adopt local noise ordinances. However, they cannot be less stringent than the state code. So you can have the state code, and then any municipality has to be more stringent, can be less stringent than the state. As a result, many municipalities have elected to adopt plainly audible standards that do not establish specific performance standards and are content neutral with respect to source noise and enforcement. In the State versus Clarksburg N, it was an appellate division court, they upheld the challenge to the plainly audible provision, stating that every governing body may make, amend, repeal, and enforce ordinances to preserve public peace and order and to prevent disturbing noise, and that was held under the new NJSA 40:481. In addition, any municipality may make, amend, repeal, and enforce ordinances it deems necessary and proper for the public health, safety, and welfare of the municipality and its inhabitants, 40:482. Thus, the court, the Superior Court appellate, found that the authority to adopt a local noise code, specifically one containing plainly audible provisions, was found in NJSA 40:48 and not in the noise ordinance. So it was specific to nuisance and not noise. So the NJDEP has consistently maintained their position that their authority to review and approve local ordinances does not extend to nuisance codes, which are not adopted pursuant to the state noise code. Local municipalities desiring to protect citizens' health, welfare, and peaceful enjoyment of their property may adopt a plainly audible provision under a local nuisance code, and that does not require the approval of the NJDEP. From 1978 to 2017, the Howell Township Noise Code had a plainly audible standard for sound production devices and a noise nuisance abatement ordinance. These were repealed with the adoption of the state model noise ordinance. It does not appear that their repeal was intentional, but rather incidental as a result of changing the entire noise code contained in Chapter 208. As a result, residents of Howell Township no longer have the same protections against plainly audible noise disturbances that they had for nearly 40 years. I propose the Howell Township governing body introduce and adopt the following ordinance under Chapter 211 of the existing nuisance code with general references to Chapter 208 of the existing noise code that reads, "It shall be unlawful for any person to make or cause to be made a noise disturbance within the limits of the Township of Howell. The following acts are declared to be loud, disturbing, or excessive noise in violation of this provision. A, operating or permitting the use or operation of any sound production device in such a manner as to cause noise disturbance. And B, operating any sound production device between the hours of 10 p.m. and 7 a.m. in such a manner as to be plainly audible across real property lines." And then it further says, "The operation or maintenance of any noise source in violation of this provision shall be deemed and is declared to be a public nuisance and may be subject to abatement summarily by restraining order or injunction issued by a court of competent jurisdiction or in any other manner available for the abatement of public nuisances." So the existing model noise ordinance defines what plainly audible and what sound production devices are. Plainly audible is any sound that can be detected by a noise control officer or a noise control investigator using his or her unaided hearing faculties of normal acuity. And a sound production device is defined as any device whose primary function is the production of sound, including but not limited to any musical instrument, loudspeaker, radio, television, digital or analog music player, public address system, or sound amplifying equipment. I ask your support for this proposed nuisance ordinance that will serve to further protect citizens' health, welfare, and the peaceful enjoyment of their property. It is difficult to imagine there could be any opposition to introducing and adopting this nuisance ordinance when the township had the same prohibitions in place for nearly 40 years. So I'm proposing that, and if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. So just something to think about. I mean, as you all know, I'm the resident that's had an ongoing issue with the noise from the Escape movie theater. I feel like there's a lot of complaint fatigue because, I've been addressing this matter at various different boards in different venues. I do want to address Mr. Herman just for a second, that when I was here in October, you had mentioned that the county health department is the enforcement agent for the municipal noise ordinance. Do you recall mentioning that? Okay. The land use department did issue a violation against the theater in the beginning of November, and the county health department I was told from Mr. Howard that the county health department was going to come back out and take additional sound measurements to see if they were in compliance with the new noise ordinance. That has not happened since November. Evidently, there was a problem with their sound meter and it needed to be recalibrated, so November came and went, December came and went. I recently contacted the health department to see if they would come out and take these sound measurements because it's now March and this was supposed to happen in November. And I just wanted to know, is the county health department the actual enforcement agent for the municipal noise ordinance? Are you certain of that?
The county health department does the inspections for Howell Township related to Board of Health matters. And that's one of them that the county health department handles for us.
Okay.
So yes, they do.
All right. Is there an agreement in place for that to take place?
An agreement for,
Does there need to be a shared services agreement in place for the county to enforce or come to the municipality to take sound measurements?
they would do the readings and we would enforce it.
Okay. So because of all of this, I've subsequently I've contacted the health department recently, and they told me that there's no shared services agreement in place between the township and the county for the enforcement of a municipal noise ordinance, which is required by them in order to enforce a municipal noise ordinance. There never has been a shared services agreement in place, and if they were to come to my property, as they did already in 2016 and 17, they can only enforce the state noise ordinance, and the municipality either has to have their own officer trained to take sound measurements and own a sound meter, or they need to enter into a shared services agreement with the township so the county can come out and perform that service. So it's my understanding from information that was given to me by the county, and the county also I sent an Oprah request to the county, and they said there's never been a shared services agreement in place with the township. So it's my understanding that at this point in time, there's a municipal ordinance that is in effect, and the township has no ability to enforce it because they have no one trained, nor do they have an agreement in place with the county.
So we can look into that for talking to the county health department about a shared service agreement if that's what we need to do. And I just want to make the council aware that we had changed the noise ordinance actually at Mr. Parisi's request. So we had the old noise ordinance for the last 40 years, which he, I believe, wants us to go back to most of. And Mr. Parisi had petitioned you previously to change it to the model DEP ordinance, at which time you did. We have sent that ordinance to the DEP as required. The DEP has adopted and approved our ordinance, and now it is in effect. Unfortunately, the plainly audible, which is the part that there is initially a violation on in the old ordinance, is not in this ordinance. So when the county health department has gone out to his house numerous times, they do not pick up any readings on their meters. So in their eyes, there is no violation. So Mr. Parisi is now requesting that you change the ordinance back to the old ordinance so that you can potentially hear a vibration or something at your house and then get us to write a violation on that. The last time we spoke to the county health department, they said they are not going out there again, as they've been out there multiple times and found no noise violations existed. So this has gone back and forth now for probably the better part of a year, thereabouts.
Well, the theater opened in May of 2016. I must correct you.
So, I mean, I don't know how much you want to get into tonight, because I have a feeling this is going to be potential litigation. And there's been multiple, I believe you appealed our decisions once, and then you've objected at multiple cases at the board. And, however the council wants to proceed with the ordinances about nuisance ordinances or anything like that, we can talk about that. But at this time, I don't think this is really the venue to continue this conversation about whether or not we should be going out to Mr. Parisi's home and that matter.
Well, you said that I'm asking them to change the noise ordinance. I'm not asking them to change the noise ordinance. I'm perfectly satisfied with the adopted model noise
Well,
ordinance.
you're splitting hairs. We get the idea. He's looking to put the plainly audible clause back in under a nuisance ordinance rather than a noise ordinance. Basically the same thing.
Thank you. That's what I was asking for.
Correct.
So that's what I wanted to present to the council tonight. Yes, I am appealing the zoning board's decision from August in Superior Court. It's just asking them to review whether or not the board made the correct decision and whether the proper laws were applied. That's my right to do that, so I've asked to do that. So as far as litigation is concerned, that's the context of what Mr. Herman is speaking of. So,
And correct me if I'm wrong, that was, I forget what you were appealing. You were appealing the Texas Roadhouse approval? Is that what it was?
no, I was appealing the zoning board's denial of my complaint that the noise from the theater is not an enforceable code issue.
Okay, that was actually a code enforcement issue, so
Right.
we can get into that
Right.
whenever you're available.
I'd be happy to sit down if you guys want to have like a sit down where we could discuss this in a different venue. I'd be happy to sit down so we can discuss it further.
I personally will discuss nothing if it's potential litigation.
I understand, Councilman. Thank you for your time tonight.
Did you have a question, Evelyn?
No, I was going to say, I'll withdraw my comment because of the litigation. Wouldn't be proper.
Thank you, Mr. Parisi. Stephen Johnson?
Good evening, Mayor, Council, Manager. Stephen Johnson, 428 Brickyard Road. I've come tonight to talk a little bit about and raise some questions about the affordable housing pilot project on West Farms Road by the Walters Group. I've relooked at the resolution 2015-241, and I've had numerous discussions with people relative to the duration of the pilot project itself. And I think there needs to be some clarification. My understanding as the former planning board chairman about 3 years ago when the Walters Group brought this application before the planning board for approval, was that this was a 30-year pilot, and that is still my understanding today, although I do know that the agreement between the town and the Walters Group references the HMFA law, which says that there can be a maximum of 50 years, but I don't believe that holds true in New Jersey. I believe that that is strictly the national HMF law, and I believe in New Jersey the restriction is a maximum of 30 years. And do we know what the mortgage duration is going to be on this project yet?
I can handle this question. The pilot program is for 30 years.
30
We
years.
confirmed that today with the developer's attorney. It's my understanding that the mortgage is for 30 years as well.
Okay, but if the mortgage were to be paid off, let's say in 25 years, then the fees in lieu of taxes would then terminate, and they would go back to traditional taxation. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay,
That's correct. As soon as that mortgage is paid off, then the exemption ends.
okay, all right. The second item I want to clarify is, back then, it was a 72-unit application, and the township was to receive 144 credits for affordable housing credits. Does that still hold today?
That's my understanding.
Okay, thank you. And in terms of the fees in lieu of taxes to the township and the county, I don't believe there's any other entities like the fire districts, the K through 8 schools, the regional schools, that would receive any fees in lieu of taxes. Do we have any idea what the comparison is between what the township is going to get and the county is going to get versus, obviously, the other entities get nothing, but what would they would have gotten if they were traditional taxation? Do we have a way to compare that, or do we have to wait until the project is approved and they C of Os are given and assessments are done?
Well, at the current time, we can use estimations as far as based on the amount of potential rental revenue, how the pilot is structured, and we can use estimations as far as what we believe the tax rate will be for this year and going forward throughout the 30-year program. But to know what the actual what they would be billed if they were on full tax rate versus what they would be paying, that wouldn't be able to be realized until until the project was finished and we were actually billing them their pilot fees.
So we couldn't even do an estimate of what that would be?
We have done an estimate.
Okay, and can we publish that somewhere so that the taxpayers in the community can see what the comparison is between traditional taxation, what we would estimate that to be, versus what the fees in lieu of taxes would be?
If I am directed by the governing body to do so, then I will.
Yeah, I think that would be a good clarification for the taxpayers in the community.
I have no issue.
I have no issue either, but I think, Mayor, you were with me at the planning board. This issue did come up at the planning board, 50-year tax, so I'm glad that this is clarified. I think it was said, and Lou, I hate to throw you under the bus, that
It's all right.
it's your fault because you had some kind of conversations or emails exchanged alluding to a 50-year pilot, but as I recall, it was always a 30-year pilot, so I'm glad this is clarified once and for all.
Yes.
And we'll set that record straight at the planning board because those comments were made.
If I could speak up, Deputy Mayor, I believe we tracked down part of the issue. When Lou was asked to do those calculations, it was during the transition for township manager as well as township attorney, and he was not involved in any of the original COA conversations, as he normally would not be. So he was just using the projections that were on the paperwork in front of him.
So we'll blame you too.
We're not, you're a good boss.
Take it on me, that's fine.
And just to further clarify, the form that's used for the pilot is an HMFA form, and it refers to 50 years. So, but we did confirm today that, in fact, the pilot is anticipated to be at most 30 years.
Thank you for your time. I've concluded my questions. Thank you.
You at fault too, Ms. Money? No, apparently not. You got nothing to do with it, huh?
Is there anybody else that wants to come up?
Joe, were you in on that too, Joe? Or you weren't here that morning?
Hi, Joan Osborne, 28 Bronia Street, Howell, New Jersey. On the topic of the affordable housing, I just wanted a couple clarifications on some of the answers that were just given. You indicated that the pilot is anticipated at being at 30 years. What are factors that could make that change from what's anticipated?
If they pay it off quicker.
Okay, but what if they take longer? Will it go longer if they take longer than 25 or 30 years to pay it off?
We have confirmed with the developer's attorney that the duration of the pilot is going to be 30 years. If they're going to change that, we'll find out ahead of time. But as of right now, it's 30 years at the most.
Okay, so how, other than us finding out that they want to change it, what are factors that would allow them? Is it solely in their discretion if it changes, or do we have a say?
The length of the pilot is keyed into the HMFA loan that they're applying for. So depending on the length of the loan, which all indications are that it's going to be 30 years, then the length of the tax exemption is coextensive with the life of that loan. So even if they were to get a 30-year pilot, they could pay it off sooner. I don't believe that they can pay it off any later than that because obviously the HMFA loan won't allow it.
Okay. And can they refinance that during the life of the loan?
I do not know the answer to that question. I can
So
check.
theoretically, it could go longer?
I do.
Okay,
Yes, they could if they wanted to.
so then it could go longer eventually?
No. Then the existing loan would no longer be in existence.
So it has to end when the first loan is?
Correct.
Okay, cool. All right.
I'm
My-
a banker sometimes, just some of the time.
My other question was about the proposed ordinance 18-2, which is amending lot coverage for impervious, or how much impervious you can have in the ARE1 zone and building coverage. Is that only going to apply prospectively on new developments, or does that apply to all existing homes? If the
It applies
change
to
is made?
existing as well.
So basically, anyone on a 1-acre lot or less can now increase their impervious coverage, double it?
That's correct.
And has our planning engineer looked at that to see if that will cause any drainage issues in any developments, if everybody were to do that?
So let me give you a little history. which you don't know, is last year, there was no impervious coverage limits in the ARE1 zone at all.
Okay.
So for the last 50 years, there's not been a ARE1 impervious coverage limit.
So why does
So
it say
out
it's
of-
15%?
So out of my office, last year, we recommended to the zoning board and planning board that we apply for ARE1 impervious coverage limits, feeling that it probably wasn't the best idea to have somebody in an ARE1 zone be able to pave or cover their entire lot. So we had originally recommended 30 and 15. Somehow that got lost in translation and went to 15 and 12 when it came out of the planning board, okay? Unfortunately, what it did is it made numerous existing properties non-conforming already, including some of our brand-new developments that are going in town,
Wow.
which, including Mr. Walsh's, that you immediately have non-conforming properties, and we haven't even gotten a CO yet. That doesn't make any sense. So we've realized this after it was passed last time, said we need to change it, and we've redirected the council to change it to reasonable numbers, which are 30 and 15, and this is going to the planning board. It already went to the planning board. It'll be heard at their next meeting, and then hopefully found consistent with the master plan and adopted at the next meeting in March.
And have we looked at any specific developments as to whether this will impact drainage in sensitive environmental areas?
Yes, we've looked at all of them, and we
And
are
there's
very aware, and that's why we initially asked to put impervious coverage limits on it when we had none.
And did anyone bring this up to last year's environmental commission at all?
I have no idea.
You didn't bring it to?
I did not.
Okay.
Brought it to the planning board, and that was distributed through the planning board.
Okay. And my last issue is the budget. You know, somebody told me, don't tell me what your values are, show me your budget. This year, the Environmental Commission is zeroed out on the budget. We made a request and we got zero, so it just kind of gives me an indication of what the value that the council has for the Environmental Commission's work is. So I just wanted to state that. Thank you.
Did we vote on the budget already?
No.
I'll just check it. You give me some water so I can take my meds.
Good evening, Elaine Taylor, Maxim Southard Road. I'm here this evening representing the Farmers Advisory and the Green Team. We are looking to move forward on putting together a farmers market, and I've been asked to come and get your thoughts and feelings and attitudes about whether it's something that you feel that you could get behind and help us to promote and, make it a community event. So these are some of the things I just wanted to share with you, questions that I'd have for you. We'd like to do it on a weekly basis. We're looking to use the parking lot here at Town Hall. Of course, we're looking for your support. And we like to do it on Sundays. So, I don't know, do you have any other questions?
Yes, I think I can comment to that. When I was on the Environmental Commission, we did talk about a farmer's market. At that time.
On the Green Team, you mean?
I'm sorry, the Green Team. I was on environmental also, sorry. We did speak about it, and at that time, the manager at that time did offer the parking lot. We had some difficulty, I believe, in getting vendors and that kind of thing, and scheduling, time of year and that kind of thing. So I never had the impression that the township would be against this, as the manager was helpful in trying to get it off the ground. So I would, again, I just respectfully think that if your group could formulate a plan and then, bring us something substantial as opposed to us dictating to you what the farmer's market would be.
I do have a plan.
So
I do have a plan.
That does seem to be like an easier escape.
I would be the go-to person for that.
I thought so.
And So how do you feel about having it here? Anybody?
Well, you just said you had a plan. Do you
I
want to
don't
share
have
that?
it with me, I'm sorry, but,
Do you think you could get that plan to the manager and let him take a look at it, and so we could formulate some opinions on the plan that you've come up with? It's a long time in the making, so maybe we can expedite something.
because I want to reach out to farmers and to the public, all kinds of, we'd like to do crafts and whatever, something for everyone in the community, involve everyone, and get sponsors as well to help support the endeavor. But, I don't want to move forward if you're not interested, because we really do need your support to do it.
Well, I believe that I heard Councilwoman say that if you brought the plan, that we would review that plan. It's difficult to say yes or no to something without knowing what we're saying yes or no to.
Okay.
I believe in theory, the concept is not a problem, it doesn't seem to be an issue. I can't speak for anyone else. But if you brought the plan either to the township manager and he can distribute to us so that we can review it to make sure, if there are any liability issues, et cetera, then we could vote on it. But without that, I would not feel comfortable voting yes or no.
No, I'm not I'm not asking for a vote. I'm just looking to see if it's something that you would consider,
I stop at one twice a month, going to get my autistic son down in Burlington County, pick up some fresh honey, some vegetables. If it was there, I would stop in and buy some stuff, but we gotta see what you would like to try to do. And are there gonna be vendors? And
Well-
how much pushback are we gonna get?
Such as?
Until we know really what we're talking about, it's hard to even make that determination.
I got yelled at, I
Yeah.
think, the other day for us being against food carts. Well, the people who spend $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 in rent don't want a food cart 100 yards away that are paying no rent, selling food.
I mean, basically, the farmer's market would be open to farmers and crafters. They would be charged $25 a week. They would have to have their own insurance. And there's a program called FLIP, which is a farmer's market insurance policy that goes for the season. And the event would run from June to October. And that's basically it. I mean, it's not,
Again, please give the plan to the manager
okay.
so that when questions arise, he's got to think of questions I'm not going to. So then you guys can sort of work out the information before it comes to us to expedite the process.
And coming before you today, I know we're on TV, so I wanted people to know that we're looking forward to doing this and inviting the people that grow to be able to come and offer the extra things that they have. They don't have to come every week. They can come when they have an abundance and they want to share that with the community.
I'd love to see our farmers, come out and that the community support the farmers that are in the area. I mean, it's definitely a noble, idea. It would be wonderful.
And we'd also like to offer different organizations the opportunity to have a booth there to promote themselves as well.
You gotta watch making it a flea market. You have to be careful here. I would like to see a lot more than offer it to other groups to have booths. I would like to see in definitive detail what you would like to try to accomplish.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else? Thank you.
Kathy Novak, 16 Stratton Drive. Unfortunately, I couldn't get to the budget meetings, but I did listen to one. And I was wondering if there was any progress made on the finding out the upgrade for the Public Works building? Is that in progress with consultants or
Which upgrade?
the building? The showers and,
Oh, that was proposed by the DPW director in the 2018, I believe, capital budget.
Yes.
and I was just wondering, I know that you weren't going to be able to do that, Mr. Herman, and it was going to go out to consultants to make a plan. Did that happen?
The budget hasn't been introduced yet.
Oh, okay. I'm just learning. I don't know. And also, I think I heard you say that you're also assistant manager, Mr. Herman. Is that a newly created position, or is that what is that?
For years, on and off, it's been a position that's been in Howell for the 13 years I've been here, so I would imagine it was here before then.
Okay, so is this new for Mr. Herman to be assistant manager?
Yes.
And so, was this position advertised to the public? Or should it have been, is my question?
At the time that the previous manager left, we requested that Mr. Herman step up and assist the township to take on an additional position to be town manager at that point. And when the new manager came on, we asked him to stay on because Mr. Herman has a lot of history and a lot of information that has assisted both the new manager as well as our new legal counsel and myself.
Okay, so I understood that Mr. Herman was deputy manager. When we didn't have a manager. Now we have a full-time manager, and we have, I think Mr. Herman is the director of community development, and I thought I heard him say he's also assistant manager.
Deputy manager.
Deputy manager. Oh, so that never went away when we got our new manager? He's just been...
Correct.
Okay. So there would, is it a permanent position, is my question? Will it be advertised to the public?
I don't think we've had that discussion.
Okay. Thank you.
Is there anyone else? Then I'd like to close this section of the public comment and go on to the consent agenda.
Now, what are we gonna do with the separate? Are we gonna? Look, we have to take them out, right? 9A4 through 9A7 and
No,
9A.
we discussed it, but we're not going to do that. But I do have a question on one of the items, on 9A9. Why would we not collect? It's cancellation of uncollectible property taxes. Why are they uncollectible?
From what I can tell from the resolution, the assessor had reported to the tax collector, these had stemmed from some seniors and veterans deductions, that portion of their deduction it's a no longer collectible. So to then not have it on the books, we cancel it so that receivable is removed from our tax rolls.
I just wanted that explanation for the public.
Exactly.
Thank you.
No problem.
I would accept the
I don't know what we're
motion.
gonna do. So what do you want me to do with 9A4 through 7 and 25?
You are going to abstain from the resolution in which you are named. So if
Okay.
you agree to the consent, you can agree and vote aye to the consent agenda and abstain from your personal resolution for attorney.
So I could say.
You'll abstain.
So it's a
So
motion,
it's a
9A1.
motion to,
9A1 through 25,
Yes, second.
and I'll abstain from 9A7. Is that correct?
well, hang in there, I'm going to take a roll call now. We're motion second, and now we're going to do the roll call.
Oh, really?
Mrs. O'Donnell,
Yes.
you're
You're
going
abstaining.
to,
Abstain from?
Oh, and absenting from 25.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes, and I'll abstain from 9A7.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes, abstain 9A6.
Mayor Berger?
Yes, and I'll abstain from 9A5.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
You know, we started off on the wrong foot today.
I believe we did.
Yeah, we're getting there.
11A1. Amend land use, impervious coverage, Schedule 3, Schedule of bulk and dimensional requirements. Motion to introduce ordinance number 0-18-2 on first reading by title, in order the same to be published in the 3/9/18 issue. The Asbury Park Press, together with notice of its introduction, and passes on first reading by title. That will be further considered for final passage at the public hearing in a meeting of the Township Council will be held on 3/20/18 and 7:30 p.m. prevailing time in municipal building.
May I have a second motion?
Second.
Title of ordinance. An ordinance of the Township of Howell amending Chapter 188, Article 1, Schedule 3, Schedule of bulk and dimensional requirements, residential zones of the revised general ordinances of the Township of Howell. Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes. Would someone please read this ordinance?
11.2, amend land use abandonment. Motion to introduce ordinance number 0-18-3 on first reading by title, and that the order the same to be published in the 3/9/18 issue of the Asbury Park Press, together with notice of its introduction and passed on first reading by title. That will be further considered for final passage of a public hearing at a meeting of the Township Council will be held on 3/20/18 at 7:30 p.m. prevailing time in the municipal building.
Second.
An ordinance of the Township of Howell amending Chapter 188, Article 1, Schedule 3, Schedule of bulk and dimensional requirements, residential zones of the revised general ordinances of the Township of Howell. Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes. Ordinance 0-18, the municipal budget.
Motion to introduce ordinance number 018-4 on first reading by title, and to order the same to be published in the 3/9/18 issue of the Asbury Park Press, together with notice of its introduction and passage on the first reading by title, and that it will be further considered for final passage after a public hearing at a meeting of the Township Council to be held on 4/17/18 at 7:30 p.m. prevailing time at the municipal building.
May I have a second?
Second.
Title of ordinance. Ordinance to exceed the municipal budget appropriation limits and to establish a cap bank. NJSA 40A:4-45.14. Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes. Would someone please introduce the budget, motion for the budget?
I don't have.
Brian, are we prepared
Excuse me
to?
if I can interrupt real quick. I had polled each of you informally, and it seemed to be the consensus to look to adopt on April 3rd, which would be 28 days out from today after introduction. So do you want to
I could
Revise
amend my
that word.
motion.
How are we gonna do
just
that?
wanted to see which way you wanted to go with that, if you wanted to revise that
Well, I
ordinance?
still had questions on it. I mean, I had questions on the capital budget, and I also, wanted to look at the actual budget. We haven't really discussed it except for at the meeting.
Okay.
That's my concern. How are we introducing when we didn't, are we gonna talk about the capital? I know you sent out an email that you wanted to get clarity on some, why don't we do that today?
We better get after it somehow, because we got 28 days we have to advertise.
Does
Correct,
everybody
Lou?
have that?
After we introduce, how long do we have?
28 days.
28 days is the minimum, so it can be out, as long as we advertise when the public hearing is, it just has to be at a minimum of 28 days. That's all.
So I requested a document. I have in front of me the capital improvement program from 2018 to 2023. And there are open items that we discussed. If you want me to go on down the list, I can I would be more than happy to do that.
Do we all have that list also?
I don't know.
No, sir, I do not.
It was forwarded to everybody.
Was it?
It was.
I have it. Well, let's go through it.
Go ahead.
Well, pull it on your email.
Sure. Sure.
Bob, do you want the sheet?
I'm good. I'm all right, I really am. What would we like to discuss?
Let me just open this up. So we have some open items here. Under vehicles.
No, start with Public Works. Right,
Start
that's the
with
first
Public
one?
Works?
Isn't that the first one? Public
No,
Works,
vehicles.
commercial cleaning equipment.
No,
Unsure if this was approved.
Vehicles.
Previous page.
The page before that.
What are you going on, page G1, 2, or 3?
I stand
One.
correct. Go ahead.
On G1,
Yep. She's
you
right.
want to
Page
look at
one.
vehicles.
Do you want me to go down the list?
Go ahead.
The Fire Bureau wanted an inspection SUV replacement for a 2008 Chevy, what's a TB?
Trailblazer.
Oh, Trailblazer. Okay. Cost $36,000. No one is sure if it was approved. The seniors wanted a 20-passenger senior transport van for $80,000. Construction Code wanted a replacement for the inspection SUV, $28,000. Police replacement vehicles, 15 at $45,000, the $675,000. I believe I missed code enforcement. Replacement of inspection vehicle at $28,000. Police frontline emergency response
No,
vehicle.
that was rejected.
Oh, that was, what was rejected?
Go down
That was
the line.
rejected by us. So those are the only ones. The last one was the police replacement vehicles at 15 at $45,000.
And I thought the direction
We-
was we were going to approve
The 30.
9 or 7. I forget what the
I
number
had
was.
8.
It was 8.
8.
360.
So there are 4 open vehicles there. 1, 2, 3, 4.
I thought we approved for the
The senior van was approved.
transportation.
We
It's
did
not
have
on there.
consensus that evening.
Okay.
On the sheet, it says unsure if this was approved, so that's why I read it.
Yeah, I don't mind if it says that, but I thought we had approved the senior.
That's fine.
We did.
I had that in my
You know,
notes.
whatever.
It was approved? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we had approved that.
And the 2 replacement vehicles for construction and code enforcement?
And Fire Bureau was pending, those 3.
Weren't we going to get a report of what vehicles, if there was any vehicles that were
Coming offline.
available, coming offline, that could be
Move to the other.
to one of these other departments?
Taking maybe the police vehicles?
Yes, no?
That was my understanding.
No, wasn't for these.
It wasn't what?
It wasn't for these vehicles. We had talked about, I believe, the police vehicles being handed down to other departments in the police, if I remember right, during the meetings.
I recall the police department telling us that they typically do that. So,
Correct.
that's how I recall the conversation. I guess we better decide.
Listen,
we-
make
can-
a call.
But part of it was handing down the police vehicles to the sewer department, if you remember. Remember, you had a discussion about whether or not they needed the pickup truck with the plow, and whether or not you could use one of the police vehicles that was coming off the main fleet
I
to
stand
be
corrected, you are correct.
a backup, let's say, vehicle, so they can just drive around to get to the pump stations to check meters. That was part of the
But they
discussion.
were having to drive 2 to the truck.
Exactly.
Well, you know what?
He's right, I do recall that.
And this is not we can't use the county financing this year, correct?
That is correct.
This is an off year for us, correct?
Yes, sir.
Next year we can? I say we limit this year, but that's whatever you want to do.
I would agree.
I'm in agreement.
I'm fine.
So that's
So
in
we
there.
agreed at the 20-passenger senior transport van we needed, correct?
Correct?
No.
We already removed the down bottom. We
Removed
removed
what?
the 87,000 for the portable radios. Is that a correct answer too?
Are we in agreement for the 20 you said the 20 passenger was,
Yeah, we.
Seniors.
Yeah, we had agreed to that.
That night, I thought we had consensus.
I don't remember.
you want to take another vote, or, because I heard you say? I don't know if I support it. But that's,
I do.
okay.
I also support it.
Manager
I don't.
call.
I don't.
Take it out.
The next items are under police equipment.
Did they decide on the other cars?
It says believe that there was consensus, so do we want to make sure?
Would you list the items?
Absolutely. Replacement of mobile video recorders, in-car mobile laptop replacements, watch guard server update, conventional radio antenna.
No, that was removed by chief.
Oh, okay, sorry.
So those
I'm
three.
just reading the list.
Didn't we
Those
have no
three,
choice? We said on the first three we had to.
I believe, yes.
I mean, we don't have a choice there. Don't we have to upgrade them?
Yes, I believe so. That's
Yeah,
how it was
I-
conveyed.
Have another ordinance?
All right, well, you want clarity from me, I'm fine with replacing the mobile video recorders, the laptop replacements, and the server update. All
I
right,
agree.
So I'm a yes.
I'm a yes.
Yep. I thought we had agreed upon that previously. I'm fine.
All right, so we're good there.
Down to Public Works, there was a commercial cleaning equipment for 5,000, slip line storm drains for 200,000.
That was removed
That was
by
removed.
DPW.
I'm sorry,
Council.
I'm just reading
Where
down.
we
there,
at?
sorry.
We're on page 2 now?
Yes, yeah,
Can we finish the ones on page 1?
we did.
The-
We did.
The phone system and the virtual server?
There was no comments on there. Seems like it was approved.
It was already approved.
All right, I just want to make sure, since we're going line by line.
No, we're not, I'm only going in the open items, I'm just clarifying where there's, it says believe there was consensus, so that's why I asked the question. Okay, Public Works, commercial cleaning equipment for 5,000. The 45-inch aerial bucket,
45 foot,
Oh,
and that's
foot.
going to be procured by the shade tree funds.
okay. The basin maintenance, 2 roadside mowers with 60-inch decks.
2 Peterbilt 348 dump trunks, assumption by CFO? Are you asking us if we approve that or not?
That one was still an open item. I had put in what I assumed that there was going to be one approved. If there could be none, then I can take that out as well. These were my little crib notes during the meeting.
So you remember us recalling, and I do too, approving one
As
for
do
the
I.
210. That's what I remember, so if that's changed.
That's why 210's in there.
Right.
420 was requested. I don't know, it depends how they do after this hard snow we're supposed to get tonight.
And then a sign printer, right? You
Well,
continue?
you have a flail head replacement, which I don't even know what that is.
I believe I was told it's on the lawnmowers that they have. It's the arm
The arm.
that
It's the arm that goes out.
reaches
leans
over
down.
and does the
Oh,
mowing
okay.
for it.
Okay, thank you.
I only know because they told me, so.
Thank you, Lou.
I did lawns in a previous life.
Do we need 2 of those? 2 together with 66,000? Or 1, that's the cost of 1?
The comment that is next to it says basin maintenance, we were going to try to procure those two roadside mowers from the Basin Maintenance Trust.
Okay. So the replacement, the flail head replacement.
We need that or else the whole piece of equipment's of no use.
Okay.
It's A or B.
Yeah.
And then the sign printer for 40,000.
I'm a no vote for that.
What does it cost us to print signs?
The equipment they're currently using is outdated, and they're having a hard time making some of the current signs.
And they don't have the parts. They said that it's getting hard to get the parts. You know, we always complain about the signage in this town. Without the modern technology to make these signs, how are we gonna put them in? If we
Because
keep
I'm
on
not so sure
outsourcing-
this sign printer is what they're saying for what you're thinking they're gonna do.
This is to create like road signs,
Yeah.
traffic signs, that kind of thing.
This is digital, this is,
It's computerized, yes.
Yeah,
computerized is not digital.
he had the whole thing, he had it in that like 12 to 15 page
Okay,
matrix
listen,
he had. He had pictures of it, he had pictures of the signs he was making. I think it's a good investment. You amortize it over 7 to 10 years, it costs about $4,000 to $5,000 a year. I think it's a good investment for the town in the long run, but
What's the longevity of the device?
I don't know.
Just asking.
I believe the old sign printer is about 16, 17 years old, and it's running on the same software that you ran in 2000. So let's just put that in perspective for a minute. You know, you're on Windows 2 or Windows 98.
Oh, my goodness. I'm okay with that. I don't know about the rest of council.
I'm good with it.
I agree, we need something that's going to be more effective for the town.
Okay, improvements to town hall, this building. Replace failed windows, 15,000. LED lighting conversion, 50,000.
But didn't they say the LED lighting conversion would save us more money in the long run? Was that a correct?
Eventually.
Yes.
Over what time period? Do you remember?
I thought it was, for some reason, I'm thinking 8 to 10 years, but
Well, 50,000 isn't coming out of the general fund, it's being
just asking.
bonded for, so that's over a period of time also, Mayor.
Okay.
Correct, Lou?
That is correct, sir.
How long are we bonding it for?
This would be bonded for approximately 10 years.
Okay, so we're looking at a 10-year span of time.
At 5,000 a year.
And that's gonna save you $5,000 a year in electrical costs?
No, I said it's gonna, the cost is 5,000.
I don't know.
Right.
I don't know what our electrical bill is here. Do we know what our electrical bill is here, Lou?
For this specific location, I mean, we get our Jersey Central billing that this bill is a part of with other multiple, it's about 36,000 a month. I mean, I could definitely pull what
But
the
that's all the
itemized.
other buildings,
But that's all
everything
the
included?
other buildings, exactly.
You know, I'd like to know what the answer is to that, how much the electric bill is. Because until we get more tenants downstairs, which is the bone that I'm pretty upset about, we'll be paying that portion of it too, correct?
Yes.
Is this 50,000 though for all of our sites or locations?
I believe this was just specific to this building.
right here.
So could we wait for that number and then come back to that line item?
Sure.
Thank you.
Would it be easier to remove or add, Lou? If we didn't like the number, because we're gonna be under time constraints with the advertising and doing the public comments on it, it'd be a lot easier to lower, because then we don't have to re-advertise, correct answer?
Correct, yes.
But if we raise, we're gonna have to start from scratch again. Is that a correct answer?
If you had something that wasn't included in the first draft of the capital budget, the capital budget really doesn't need to be finalized until we introduce the bond ordinance, because when we do the bond ordinance, there's language within the ordinance saying that the capital budget will be amended to basically model what's in the bond ordinance. So if there's something that in there that you have in there and need to adjust down, it will be amended, and/or if you don't have it in now, or at this point, put it in, it's 6 in one hand, half a dozen in the other.
So we don't have to make this call tonight. We want that information on how much the electric bill here is.
Correct. I mean, it would be nice to have something as part of the plan, but the action date, if you will, would be for when we go to introduce the bond ordinance.
We don't need it tonight, folks.
Let's wait.
We don't have to make the call tonight.
Okay.
How's that, Lou?
What about the windows? Jim, could you talk about the windows?
I cannot. That's a DPW issue.
Correct me if I'm wrong, weren't they speaking about the windows and the gases in the window had,
Some of the seals
quite
had gone
badly.
bad,
Yeah, and they were
according to
fogging
the
up.
presentation. So the windows were not holding their seal anymore, letting air in and out, fogging up all the time, allowing rainwater in during certain bad
Heat out,
wind
air
direction
conditioning out.
storms.
So it causes damage if they're not fixed, right?
Potentially, yes.
Yeah, I'm not for letting that go.
I
You
would
know,
agree.
water can cause damage beyond what any of us like to think about, so I'm for fixing the windows.
I agree. Anyone else?
I'm fine with it.
Yeah, good on the windows.
Okay, improvement to police and, oh, no, wait. Improvements to DPW garage. So that's pending a design plan.
That's
Right.
correct. Yes.
Do you know when, will we get that prior to your need for us to finalize the budget?
No.
How could I vote
So
on
you're
that?
gonna want us to put a blanket number on those restrooms and those showers down at DPW without a plan?
Not at all. That was not what was discussed.
We
We
had discussed, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, no, go ahead.
We had discussed just funding the design costs for this year.
A conceptual cost, I believe it was only. It wasn't even a design cost, if I remember
So
right, it was
do
a
you have that?
conceptual plan.
What would that cost?
I don't have that number yet. I didn't realize we were gonna talk about the budget tonight.
Okay.
So we don't have to worry about the 300,000, that's negligible. So
Even if you were to go and design it, say we do the conceptual, we bring it to you, you agree, we wouldn't be done with design until next year anyway. Because we'd have to hire architects. By law, I am not allowed, as my engineering license, to design that type of use group building, so we would have to hire an outside architect anyway, and we could do that, but it would take through the rest of the year, more than likely, just to get the design done, and then next year you could fund it, fund the construction.
That's a long time.
Government works very slowly.
And if I might add, if there's items on this capital list, there's no law saying that we only have to do one bond ordinance a year. If there's another project on here, or something that got delayed, or we were, waiting for something, if there's something that the township wanted to pursue, we can do another bond ordinance if it's done later in the year after it. So if there's something that's put on hold because we don't want it on the typical capital bond ordinance that we also always do around June or July, if there's something that needs to get held and done later in the year, that's fine as well.
Okay, thank
So.
you. Didn't know that. So I say we put this on hold then,
I agree.
until we get the, some type of a design. Improvement to police and court. So there were security enhancements for 60,000 and the kitchen and break room renovations for 35. Does that not need architecturals as well? Or that's just,
It depends on how sophisticated they're getting. If they're not moving walls or doors or building new walls or anything like that, then potentially, no, you wouldn't need an architect to do that. So if they're talking about replacing cabinets or buying new appliances or things like that, you can do that without an architect, unless those appliances require new plumbing and fixture relocation, then you would need an engineer to do that.
how old is that kitchen?
It's original to the building, I would assume.
Long time.
88?
30 years? Yeah, 30 years.
Can you refresh my memory what they were speaking about in terms of that area? Just replacing things?
I believe, I can't speak 100%, but I believe it was for replacement of appliances and cabinetry and tables and chairs.
So
I
then do
believe.
we assume that the appliances are going to go back in the spot that they're in and they don't need the plumbing?
The last
and-
time I spoke to the police chief, that's correct. That's what he had said, was put it right back where it was.
Okay. Thank you.
On the security enhancements, I thought we approved that. Chief said that they're pretty much necessary to get them up to current regulations.
Consensus as well.
Yes, he
Am I
did say that,
missing-
but I don't believe we got clear direction from the council if they were approving it.
So we need to get it up to current regulations. We don't have clear direction. All right, I'm for I'm for it.
I'm okay with it.
I concur.
Can we put the kitchen and bathroom on the same,
Yes.
the same hold as the bathroom for DPW? And could we get a conceptual plan for that and the cost, actual cost?
Sure.
Thank you.
A lot of the stuff they buy, Mayor, has to go under state contract. We know what they have to buy. It all
Well,
goes under state contract.
But we don't know what they have to buy yet, so.
I understand. I agree.
Other building and grounds projects, replacement of school zone light signs? Isn't that on the school budget?
No, this would be on the roadways, so we were the authority to place the signs there.
There's no grants for this? This can't be through safe corridors or anything like that?
Possibly.
Could we look into that?
Sure.
Well, how many safe corridors grants are available to?
Actually, this isn't part of safe corridors, because
Safe
that would
corridors
only
only
apply to Route 9.
Yeah, it's only the highway.
So what other,
There might be
some
other
grants out
safe
there?
routes to schools. There might be other grants available for it.
There'll be other grants out there.
So we can hold on that for now?
Yes.
Thank you.
Office equipment, other projects, police replacement of color printers.
And what are we gonna do? They need a color printer, what are you gonna do? You need one. They do a high volume of color printing.
Are they leased or purchased?
They're purchased.
There'll probably dollar buyouts at the end.
how many is this for?
I believe it was 2.
And we need two, or can we get away with one?
The chief had said his current equipment is outdated, and they're having a hard time maintaining it.
How many does he have now?
I can't give you an
Yeah.
answer. That would have been best directed when he was here.
Yeah, I don't remember. He may have
I'm
said.
okay with it.
But it's not a big number.
Yeah, I'm okay with it. He wouldn't be asking for color printers if he didn't need them.
Okay.
And those usually
Fine.
get purchased off a state contract as well.
That's
They
fine.
do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Engineering, road mill and overlay, 2.16 million.
How many roads you doing, Mr. Herman?
I don't have exact numbers. That'll be roughly 18 miles of roadway.
Gotta keep up with the road plan, if not, they'll fall apart. Then we'll have to spend a bunch of money when it costs even more. For keeping up with the road plan, so.
Okay. Parking lot improvements on Old Tavern Road for the municipal complex.
I just have a hard time
I'm
with
not in
that.
favor of that.
Yeah.
I'm a no.
Wasn't that the limited amount of space by the senior?
I
No,
don't know what
this
the
is-
long-term plan is. That's what I want to know. I want to know what the governing body's long-term plan is going to be there before we put 400,000 or 500,000 in the roads in the old complex.
I would love to see a sports arena up there. Just me talking.
Let's get
Is
that
that
big
old building
grant.
still up?
It sways when the wind blows.
I hope Councilwoman Smith's up watching right now. Is that old building still up?
Jim, why are we putting up the municipal aid for Cranberry Road when we got the approval from the state?
We only got half of that.
Correct.
So it's always matching, right?
Correct.
Yeah, but that's destroyed.
So if we don't say yes to this, we don't get the grant from the state.
Correct.
Correct.
Yeah, so that's a no-brainer, no?
And just to clarify on that parking lot improvements at Old Town Hall, that's actually to expand the police department's parking lot, to give them essentially another row of parking, and to combine that with the senior center lower level parking. I don't know if you've been over there. The biggest thing is we have a ton of washouts that repeatedly happen, because there's no proper drainage. There was never a proper system put over there. So that would be to try to clean up that area and also just resurface the first 3 rows of the upper parking lot that the senior center uses. We're not talking about going beyond that because we don't know what we're gonna do over there.
Well, so in that same vein, though, if we don't know what we're going to do, maybe we don't keep, maybe we should just wait to come up with some kind of a plan for the whole area.
And we can do that too.
And then we could make a decision on which area we're going to fix. That would be my,
So if we don't do that, can I have the extra 400,000 to
No.
pave more roads?
no.
That's why I have a hard time with it. You know, you can't minimize, you know, well, this is all we're doing, and then ask for 400,000 for it. Those two things don't equate to me. 400,000 is a lot of money to spend on paving. I have no issue with the 2.2 million almost going to pave roads in the town. But if I'm gonna agree to spend $400,000 to pave over there, I wanna know what our long-term plan is. That's me personally. I mean, and I'm not sure what it is. Like me, I think this is the perfect opportunity to bring the library here to downstairs. That's me personally. Eventually, we're gonna need more room in the police department. You know, I look at things and, you know, I didn't know what we were gonna do down the road, but I knew buying this building would give us options. I mean, if we put the library downstairs and switch the court over to where the library is now, and we'd have room to expand the police department, which sometime over the next 10 years, 15 years, is gonna have to happen. As this town grows, and we know from all the litigation, the affordable housing and other thing, this town is about to grow. And as it grows, you're gonna need more police, you're gonna need more room. To me, this would be the perfect opportunity to put in a long-term plan like that. But that's just me.
I would agree.
I think that's a conversation we need to have, however, not tonight, because I think there's a lot of caveats to that.
I'll have that
certainly-
conversation whenever I feel like, Ms. O'Donnell.
Well, thank you, Mr. Walsh. You may speak at any time you like. However, I think we could give that about 2 hours of conversation.
My meds are gonna kick in soon, don't worry.
I'm hoping. So what are we gonna
Yeah, I don't
fill
know.
that
We're not-
paving?
So I think we're not going to, I think I heard that we're not going to do the improvements to the municipal lot until we have a further discussion on what we're going to utilize that property for. And we did agree to the 2.16, and also we did agree to Cranberry Road. Is that what,
That's where I am at.
And this
That's
is
where I'm at.
inclusive of the second row of parking for the PD?
no,
No,
So
that's
that
out.
would take that out?
we're
Okay.
taking that out.
All right.
And I'm not against it, Jim.
No, I
I
understand.
just want to have look, if the vision of the governing body is going to be, nothing's going to happen for the next 5 to 10 years, then we know there has to be upgrades to the paving over there where the police department is, the library, and the senior center. Correct? There's no way that infrastructure is lasting for another 10 years the way it is right now. Because if there's washouts, what's going to happen over time? They're gonna get more intense. So, I would just like a clearer vision, that's all. And if the bottom line is 3 people vote to spend 400,000 now, that's, you know,
I do have one question. Is the,
but you want to discuss it at a later date.
no. Well, I'll talk anytime
You
I
want
like,
to get the
Mr.
last
Walsh.
word in on it,
Is there a safety issue with the parking by the senior center?
yeah, there's issue everywhere over there when you talk to people.
Well, he was talking about washouts.
But you're talking, a lot of them, they say there's a big issue when there's court. And there's no place to park.
That I
And they're-
understand.
And they're parking over by the library and they're parking on the grass.
Right now, there's about, on average, 10 vehicles that are parked on the grass that are police officers, because there's no room to park. And that's on a non-court day. And then when you add the court day into it, you know, I mean, and they fill up the library, rightfully so, and that's why we have a sidewalk between the two buildings. But that does fill up extremely fast. So, yeah, there definitely needs to be an overall plan that would probably involve what are we gonna do with the 3 buildings up top into that plan. Are we going to get rid of them? Are we going to rehabilitate them? What's gonna happen with those 3 buildings before we figure out what we're gonna do with the paving? I'm fine with that.
Okay, pull it.
You know, eventually something has to be done there. I didn't know the big one was still up. The engineering building's down and the right? And
Correct, that's gone.
It was, the parking lot was all ripped up and everything, and that's with the county now, right?
Yes, that was taken over by the county.
Okay, next would be the sewer utility fund. F-25 exterior cab utility body with plow, is that what that is?
Yes.
Oh.
And I believe the council did not approve that at the last meeting.
And the SCADA?
SCADA system
SCADA.
was, SCADA was the,
It was approved because it's not on here.
It is on there.
What was
Oh.
The
that?
number's not in there, but the 50 carries all the way over. Was it approved or not?
Well, that's-
the 50, no, the 50 was projected, the sewer utility director's projected cost over the next 5 years,
50 a year
50 a year. That's,
to run that.
that's what he had, that's what he had reported over to me.
I think it's updated all the pump stations.
Yeah,
Monitoring.
it's to update the pump stations with the monitoring systems that they can handle from an iPad mobily.
So it's gonna cost $50,000 a year? Is that what you're saying?
That basically he wanted to implement the implementation of the software in phases, and he wanted to do it over the course of a 3 or 4 year period, utilizing that cost in each of the years.
So it's a $200,000.
For the 10 pump stations.
Mm-hmm.
Funded out
Correct.
of the sewer authority.
Explain that.
It's for the about 10 pump station systems that we have, so he's not doing them all at once. So he's, as he's upgrading it, instead of doing,
Okay.
saying that I'm going to do it all at one shot for 300,000, I'm going to do it in a phased process that it's going to happen over the course of 4 or 5 years.
Okay. So Deputy Mayor just said that it's funded out of the sewer authority?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And generator replacement is for which building?
I believe this was a generator at one of their pump stations,
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken.
I guess if you need a generator, you need to replace it. Is everybody okay with that?
Yes.
Yes.
And then the pump station, the rehabilitation of the Woodburn and Thousand Oaks pump station is $371,000.
Has to be done. Is there a way around it? I mean, I don't think so.
I can't answer that question. No?
Yeah, there's no way around it.
I've spoken to the sewer utility director. These appear to be pretty badly needed. You know, we don't want these to fail. We don't want all the pumps to fail. That's a even bigger problem.
But so I'm sorry that I didn't look down at the bottom. So the sewer fund is gonna fund all of that?
Correct, yes. It's from the sewer utility, so the funding would be from the already established capital fund and from the sewer ratepayers.
Okay.
How much we have in the capital fund for the sewer utility?
Well, it says capital reserves. Is that the amount?
I'm just
500?
asking Lou, how much is in
Correct.
the fund now?
Bear with me a moment.
Did we, and you don't have to answer this tonight, but have we generated more into the fund over the last 3 years? Or has it stayed status quo? Because we've lowered the rate from 198 down to 145, I believe, a quarter over the last 5 years. So we've lowered the rate about 200 a year. But we know we have this big project ahead of us right now, Mr. Herman, which is on course to start pretty soon, is it not?
Yes, we're preparing the bond assessment details now.
Okay, when does it expect to shovel in the ground for the Freewood Acres?
Hopefully this summer.
Hopefully this
We have
summer.
to we have to introduce the assessment bond ordinance, adopt it, and go out to bid, and award a contract to the consultant, which is part of the EIT funding requirement. So that has to be done prior to going out to bid.
And we applied for some grants, correct?
We did through the EIT.
How we doing with them?
Very well, hopefully.
So we're all good with the sewer, right?
Yes.
Lou, we good?
Yes,
What do you have for me?
the sewer capital improvement fund stands at the end of 2017 at 2.126 million.
Okay. And can you tell me how much there was in 2015? Is it on that same line?
I can tell you that we started 2017 with 1.536 million.
So we put an extra 600,000 in last year.
Correct.
So that's what the upgrades we already made last year, and now he's looking for 371,000 to redo that pump station. We should be just fine numbers-wise there. Okay? So,
Thank you, sir. Can we end it at this and not go into the entire budget? Or do you want to do that now as well?
listen, I'm not, if you want to start talking about the budget, let's start talking about it, Mayor. It doesn't bother me. I can go home and watch The Bachelor, but I'm recording it right now.
I'm exhausted, mentally, to be honest with you. But I'll do whatever anybody wants.
Listen, it's gonna be a difficult conversation, it's gonna tire us out whenever we start. So, I have no problem. Where does everybody wanna go?
I'm here, so if you want to start, I'll start.
All right?
Let's go.
What do we have? You ready to start chatting about the budget?
Are you prepared?
Who, me?
Yeah, do you have your does everybody have their budget with them?
No, I don't have it with me, I'm good.
Okay. How can we talk about it if not everybody has the paperwork?
The whole book.
I have it. It was mailed out on Thursday. You had specific questions on that? I have my sheet.
I have mine.
Okay, where are we?
We're at the beginning. So I'll give an overview of where the numbers fall. And Lou, or you can give that overview, that what I asked you for those numbers today.
Yes, ma'am. The 2017 approved budget appropriations stood at $47,776,000. The total amount that was initially requested by the department heads in the 2018 budget request was $52,771,875. The township manager, myself, and the township council have made adjustments, reducing that number by $1,421,875 to a total proposed 2018 budget appropriations of $51,350,000, which is a $3.583 million increase over the 2017 approved budget, and is increasing approximately 7.5%. The amount to be raised by taxation, increasing $751,208, and the proposed municipal tax rate is decreasing by half a penny.
758,000 increase?
Yes, sir.
How much of that increase, and break it down for me if you can, from what was uncontrollable expenses, whether it be social security, pension, medical benefits, contractual, whatever you have that's uncontrollable. If
Well,
you
the
could
majo-
break it down for me.
Well, the majority of the increase that we had, in the increase in spending, salary and wages increased 1.164 million, and that encompassed settling the PBA contract, step increases for the PBA, as well as the transit workers union were budgeted in there as well. Some of the new employee requests were factored in there as well. The full funding of the full year funding of the SLEO 3 program was in there as well.
It was 150,000?
Yes, sir.
That's
and-
for the SLE threes in the schools, right?
Yes, sir. And on the other expenses side, we had a debt service increased 1.254 million, based on principal payments for our bond anticipation note, as well as the 2017 MCIA equipment bond that was issued last year. Our pension billing went up about $290,000.
290 in pension costs?
Our Social Security employer share increased about $148,000
That's
based
reflective
on.
of the raises, right?
Yes, exactly. There was additional funds budgeted for legal counsel for some of our pending litigation.
Which isn't enough. How much did we fund that?
We increased the amount by $130,000.
Okay, we know that that's not going to be enough. I'm not happy about that.
Our health benefits increased approximately $136,000 based on the current roster of employees that are taking health benefits. Premiums stayed pretty much flat from last year. And some of our utility costs increased from last year as well, based on some, I believe there were some new fiber lines that were put in for the police to be able to use the state police channel, if I'm not mistaken. And that encompassed a lot. Any of the discretionary spending increases that were factored into the budget were offset by discretionary spending reductions that were made by the township manager and the council.
And if I read this right, and I'm just surmising it, out of 3.5 million in increase in spending, almost 3.2 million of it was uncontrollable between the debt, SLE threes at school, salary increases, pension costs, social security, and health. Is that a pretty fair statement?
That's as fair as you could get.
So over 90% of the increase in spending came from uncontrollable costs.
Yes, sir.
So the only way to whack that down is to do what? Get rid of departments or employees?
I would say so. I mean, you'd have to decide which services stay, which service, it's, certain costs that are built into the budget, and we can look and see what can be taken out, but it's, when you get, I think, to this point, then if there's a certain amount that you want to reduce the budget, then that would be the next step.
Mr. Harmon, how much we projecting the revenue down from code enforcement and your department this year from inspections and things of that nature?
That was sent out as well.
You got it?
Yeah, I mean, as far as what we are anticipating In the budget, as far as Mr. Herman's departmental fees, I'm anticipating the same amount in this year's budget as we were last year. Even though we collected more, I'm still anticipating the same amount that was in the 2017 budget. So if we were to collect, exceed that, it would go right back into operations. If we were to taper down a little bit, we could still potentially not have to take a deficit in that specific line item, per se.
So that was a budget neutral in essence.
Yes, exactly.
Anybody want to cut bodies or departments?
It's never my preference.
I wouldn't want to make that decision at this point. I would want to sit down and maybe look at if there's some other cuts that we could make in the general budget prior to cutting it. Positions, I prefer to do that first. And that's just my opinion.
So you don't want to introduce tonight?
I don't think so, no.
And we're gonna have a special meeting, or what are we gonna do? How are we gonna handle this? To discuss this? Or are we discussing it now?
We're
it's
discussing
late.
it now, but the question, he asked a question, I said no.
All right,
So,
I'm asking the follow-up question.
I spent
I'll
countless
support your
hours,
decision.
yeah.
I'm gonna support your decision of not introducing, but now I'm asking when are we gonna discuss it?
well, it would have to be one day this week, because I'm not here next week.
So let's look at calendar.
And I'm not here from the 22nd to
'Cause
the
we need-
29th of March. And I'm not really flexible the first week in April.
No, the mayor said
No, I'm
this
away
week.
next week, it would have to be this week, Bob.
Okay.
So today's already the.
If that's okay with
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. But I just,
You need 2 days' notice, so
I'm just saying, I won't be here the 22nd to the 29th, and then my boy's gonna be home for 8 days.
are you here the
So I
12th?
promise no
Are you here the
flexibility.
12th?
I'm not here next week.
So we can't do it this week because there's not enough notice time. She needs 48 hours.
Friday, Saturday?
No,
I won't be here, but you certainly can have your day.
taking one of your hundred.
A meeting on a Saturday?
I won't, I'm leaving.
This Friday? I mean, what about this?
No,
If you want
forget
to
it.
do it on Friday, I can,
There's not enough notice time.
2 days?
it's 2 days.
Wednesday, Thursday?
She's coming, is 2 days, is Friday?
Friday would be fine.
Even though you're starting tomorrow, the 7th counts as a date and the 8th counts as a date?
It's, correct me if I'm wrong, it's 48 hours from when I send it to the newspaper, would you think? It's 48 hours from when I send it to the newspaper.
So you're gonna send it tomorrow, which is Wednesday. 48 hours takes us till Friday morning? Is that
Friday
what you're saying?
morning.
I'm available Friday.
I'm not available at 5 o'clock. I get my son at 3:30. It's about an hour and 15-minute ride back,
That's true, I forgot.
okay?
So are you available at 5? Is that what you just said?
He's not.
I can make it here for
Oh.
about 5 or 5:15. That's it. No earlier for me.
I will certainly rearrange my schedule for that.
I will go as well.
Okay?
So you're gonna have a meeting Friday. What time will your start time be?
Me, I won't start till I get here.
Gotta
Let's
tell
call
me,
it
gotta
5:30.
advertise something.
Let's call it 5:30.
Good for me.
I'm fine.
And the
Would
per-
anybody
and-
like in particular,
Right, your sole purpose will be discuss the municipal budget.
Correct.
what would we like to have? Would we like to have the manager or the CFO or anybody have anything in particular?
I was gonna
Would
ask
we like
if there's any-
department heads to be here? I mean, I'm just asking a question. Me personally, I don't need no department heads here. I've already went through the the numbers with the manager and the CFO on many occasions. I mean, I've spent 50, 60 hours with them talking about the budget over the last 6 months, so I'm good with what's there. But does anybody else want anything that may help?
I think the only ones that we would need would be the manager as well as Lou.
You'll be here, Lou, thank you.
Yeah, I just need clarification. I'm not in tomorrow, so I will put a notice together when this meeting ends. I'll go back, type your notice, send it to the press. But I just want to be clear, is it just budget discussions? Are you talking about introducing budget? Or no, you're just going to have your
I
budget
thought you said you were
discussion?
going to introduce on the third, no, you wanted to introduce this week. Is that right?
Introduce to, well, I don't want to speak.
You're gonna have to do something, we're gonna have to do something, because you're gonna be gone, and I'm gonna be gone. And the budget has to be done by when, Lou?
The second meeting in March, we will still be compliant with the state statute. So our second meeting is the 20th. If you were to introduce on the 20th, you would still be compliant. And then your scheduled adoption, 28 days, would most likely be that second meeting in April, the 17th.
All right, but let's cut to the chase now. The mayor's gonna be gone from about the 10th to the 17th, correct?
Correct.
I'm gonna be gone the 22nd to the 29th.
Okay.
That means
You-
on the 20th, we can
You could
schedule
either
it?
do one or two things. You could either schedule a special meeting to adopt but let me restart. The public hearing needs to be held a minimum of 28 days after introduction. So you could have the public hearing, close the public hearing, and table the vote to a
Let me ask,
Okay.
I'm sorry, not to interrupt,
Sure.
but let me ask this question. Are you all prepared to put this budget out this evening, the way it is? Or did you want to cut positions, or did you want to cut something off the budget? What is the consensus around this table?
I think for me, it's a fair assessment that if any one person isn't comfortable, I think we should give it more time so that we can make a better decision.
I'm just putting it out there.
I have no issues. I have no issues if we, really, I'm in a good spot in my life. If we decide to consolidate departments, if we decide to eliminate positions, I'm okay. I mean, I think around the corner is a recession in the next couple of years. I remember what it was like being up here in a recession. So, I'm okay, I really am. If you want to talk about making cuts, I'm willing to talk, and I'm willing to strongly consider making any cut to anything you would like to cut.
So on Friday, are you
We
just,
still didn't answer your question, so.
yeah, she wants to know how to put it in the paper.
It's just budget discussion? Will you be introducing that evening?
I think I'm hearing, and I could be wrong, but I think that what I'm hearing is that we don't have an option but to do that on Friday. I think that's what I'm hearing, but you could correct me.
We're gonna run into a jam somewhere along the line, because we have to introduce by the 20th.
So
Right.
that's
So
what
we
I-
have a thin window, with you being gone and me being gone.
So that's what I'm saying. So I believe what I'm hearing is that we must introduce it on Friday. Is that correct, Penny?
I wouldn't know that. Lou, do they have to introduce Friday, or can they wait till the?
You don't have to introduce on Friday. As I said, the meeting on the 20th, you would still be compliant with the state budget direction as far as when they want you to introduce. It's a deadline of the 17th or the next available scheduled meeting.
So let me ask a follow-up question to that. So if we put it on there, similar as we did this evening, that we're going to put it to introduce, and if we decide not to do that, we could table it to the next meeting?
What do you think about that?
Which is basically
No?
what we did tonight, correct?
I understand, but that's why I'm asking the question.
Yeah, well, it was,
We could.
what do you think?
We have to introduce it by the 20th. We have to come to some kind, so if we don't have consensus by the 20th, or there's not 3 people that agree to it by the 20th, we're out of compliance with the state.
Understood.
Mr. Clark, is there anything that,
I was just talking to Ms. Wolman, but I think that if we have until the 20th to introduce, and you're not certain that it's going to be introduced on Friday, then it should be listed as budget discussion with the intention that it'll be introduced on the 20th, which, as our CFO indicated, will still be compliant.
I'm fine with that as well.
And as well, there could be, the budget can be introduced in some form, and if there are discussions that want to be had, if there are any amendments that would need to be made to the budget as well, they can be done as well. So if there's a version that wants to be, introduced, and if there are changes that need to be made, they can, we can make amendments to the budget and then obviously follow state statute in accordance to how the public hearing would need to be handled and such.
I understand. We're all here on the 20th, correct?
Yes.
God willing. Yeah, I leave the morning of the 27th.
So I'm good. Budget discussions for Friday, 5:30.
I do believe.
We'll
No
see you
problem.
here, Miss Wallman. Will you make me coffee?
I won't, I can't guarantee I'll be here.
Oh, Miss Wallman.
Now I have to hope Miss Allison is here.
She makes good coffee.
She does. Good coffee maker.
Okay, so we will be back here on Friday for a budget discussion. Is there any unfinished business?
Just one moment. The cap ordinance we just introduced, still good with that? The fact that we introduced it, and also the fact that it's going with the adoption date of the,
March 6th.
Correct. The cap ordinance needs to be adopted, and we just read into the record that it was going to be second reading and public hearing. We're going to be at the April 17th meeting.
Correct.
So if the
So we're still good.
So if the budget gets introduced on March 20th,
Everybody will catch up.
presumably will catch up,
On
and
April
then
17th.
the
All
public
right, just
hearing
wanted
and
to be
second
clear.
reading.
I didn't want-
Yes, we would still
Good, good.
still be all good with that. Yes.
okay, wonderful.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't have anything further.
30 days has November.
Is there any information that needs to be put out? None. The next meeting date would be Friday. What's the date? The 10th?
9th.
The 9th, March 9th at 5:30. The next regular meeting date is Tuesday, March 20, 2018, executive session at 6:30, regular session at 7:30. I would like to entertain a motion for adjournment of the meeting.
Second?
Si-
Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes, ma'am, thank you.
Did you ask me? You didn't bother to ask me, did you?
You don't
You just
count
blew
tonight.
right by me.